Hey everyone, welcome back to the Work from Homesteader. I'm Lauren, and if you're new to us, I am a working mom who also is growing a homestead on 2 acres with my husband, 3 dogs, little toddler, and one on the way. Today's video is going to talk about whether pickles can be made cheaper at home versus buying it at the store. Now, there's a lot of factors to consider with this. Homemade pickles obviously are going to have a much better quality than a lot of what you can get at the store. What I'll do is I'll compare a few different price points and a few different ways to really consider whether these are cheaper. Now, I wanted to do this video for people that want to do a lot of like homemade pickling, homemade canning, or canning at home, and who might not necessarily have the means to grow it by themselves or the skills. I have the land right now to grow cucumbers, but I found out this year that I don't necessarily have all the skills to grow them quite yet. I've learned a lot this year on things that I'll be applying for next year. But this year I did not have enough pickles to, jar all of the ones that I would want to. And so I outsourced our pickles, or I should say our cucumbers, to make pickles from a local farm. So what I did is I headed to our local farm stand. We're super lucky to have one just a few miles down the road, and that's where I go for almost all of our produce during the summer. All right, so once I got these cucumbers home, I went ahead and I sliced off the blossom end. So based on a lot of my research, this is a key thing to help keep them crisp while they're sitting in the jars and during the canning process. I chopped off all of the ends and I put them in a salt water combination. And this won't be a video necessarily on how to make pickles. I will direct you to some really good links on some popular homesteading people that I like to follow on how the way that I did it. It is not a USDA recommended way. However, it is highly recommended on a lot of canning Facebook groups and other homesteaders that I follow. 24 hours, I took them out and I started to slice them in the way that I wanted them. So in this batch, I did spears. Later on, I didn't film this, but I did little like medallion circles, perfect for hamburgers. We actually probably will be using them for fried pickles. My husband's super excited about that, so I think it's going to be a hard 3-week wait for him. Sterilized all of my jars and I set them out on the counter. I put fresh dill in there and I also put some garlic in there as well. I used Mrs. Wage's pickling mix, and so you really don't need to do that with that mix. In the future, I will hopefully make my own spice combination. I really want to get away from a lot of the pre-packaged stuff. It's kind of the goal of making it from your home. However, this was my first time pickling. I kind of wanted to try and make it as easy as possible on myself. And I followed directions from Mrs. Wage. I boiled the mixture with a water, vinegar, and then spice mixture. And I poured that over the jars, and I did about like a ½ inch of headroom. And then I put on the the lids of the jar, and then I tightened them, not like about fingertip tightness is what kind of the popular term is there, but you don't want it to be too tight. That's especially important for pressure canning. It doesn't necessarily, I don't think, matter as much here. However, I'm newer to canning. Tell me in the comments below if it does matter if you're doing this method. And then I let them sit on the counter for 24 hours. So again, this is not a USDA recommended version. All right, so let's talk price breakdown, the reason you're here. So to make the pickles using the non-USDA recommended, so we're not using a canner or anything like that, the price comes out to about $2.09 per pickle jar. Now, the more years you make this price will go down. So I figured about $1.09 for each jar. I was able to buy 12 quart jars for $12.99. And it actually was a little bit less than that if I go and mail them an RS rebate in. We'll see if I remember to do that. But these jars will be able to be reused year after year. You will have to buy new lids so that you can safely continue to can. However, the price of new lids is less than the price of a new jar. So that price will actually go down year over year as you continue to can on your canning journey. Now compare that, I looked at Aldi. So if I just take a look at my Instacart app here, we could get, for $2.49, we can get hamburger dill pickles. I do not see a comparable 32-ounce spears. So I'm not sure if those are more expensive to make. I imagine they're harder to cut for a manufacturer. I do not see the spears in here at the same fluid ounces, but that's $2.49. That's still more than if we canned it at home. And those are like kind of your average, like typical pickle, the one that sits on your shelf. The fresh pickles, the ones that you find in the refrigerated section, the deli pickles at Aldi's, sell for $4.95, which I think, and those are 32 ounces, I think it's a lot more comparable to what you would make at home, kind of quality-wise, taste-wise. So at that is more than double the amount that it would cost for us to make it at home. It also comes in a plastic container. So obviously plastic is not as reusable, doesn't hold up over time as much. And also depending on, if you're a weirdo about plastic like me, not ideal either. So making pickles at home using the non-USDA recommended way, definitely cheaper than buying them at the store. Now let's talk if you were to can them and process them the way that in a canner. All right, so if you are going to make pickles, never can anything ever again, which I think is unrealistic if you're really trying to go on this journey. However, if that's your case, you just really want to make pickles, you want to make sure that they are USDA recommended safe, then the cost of your pickle per jar would come out to about $7.20. So obviously that's a lot more than you would pay in store, but we're putting a lot of fixed costs in there into that calculation. But if you wanted to get a big canning size pot and all of the tools that you would need to lift the jars out, to put the magnetic, the little magnetic thing that you can put the jar lid on with, all of those little tools, those I found that on Amazon for $74.99. Again, you might be able to price that out cheaper in store, or you might be able to borrow that from a friend, find it at a thrift shop, and there's lots of different ways to kind of cut that initial cost down, so make sure you're looking at that. But if you want the easy peasy, 2-day shipping, that is what the price would come out to be, about $7.25. So I don't think that's realistic as far as a long-term cost, because if you're really getting into this, you're going to be using those over time, and those are really a one-time purchase unless you lose or damage the item. But a lot of those tools, they really hold up well over time if you're getting a good brand. So I think it's worth the initial investment, but those still would be a little bit over, depending on your area, the price of pickles. So I do think that pickles can be made cheaper at home, and I think that they're a really great option if you want to start making your own food at home, preparing, canning, and kind of getting into homesteading. I think they're a really easy step into that. So let me know in the comments below if you've made pickles before, any ways that you've found to make them cheaper, and I would love to hear from you below. So thanks again for watching. I will see you guys next time.